All right, UMAC fans, we are back with another season preview. Today we are talking 2021 men's and women's tennis. We have with us the University of Northwestern head coach, Matt Swigart. He is in his 9th season leading the Eagles. In the past few years, he's taken both the men's and women's teams to the NCAA tournament, has had a lot of his success, and after a long time off, we are hopeful to finally be playing tennis again. So we're ready to chat a little bit with him. So Matt, thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, let's get into it. It's been a long time since we've seen tennis teams in action. I know definitely had some time outside this fall, but what does it mean for you, your team, your assistants, everybody within your program to finally be able to have the opportunity, looking forward to having competition this spring? What does that mean after everything that's happened in the last 10 months?
Yeah, it's been great. It means some level of normalcy is returning, or, all these student athletes are coming into college with this expectation, or the assumption that they're going to be playing their sport that they've worked their whole life working on and look forward to coming to college and playing, and to have that just ripped away, last spring, it was a challenge for all of them. And so it's been great as I know we've been back to practice now, just wrapped up our second week, and just being kind of back to normal and feeling something that's kind of normal, even though we know that COVID is it's a random thing. You could get bit at any time. So we're just trying to take it one day at a time, but just being grateful for the opportunity to be back, both on the court and preparing to compete, but also just with our teammates and the team as a whole. You spend so much time together, you become a little bit of a family, and there's a gap when you don't get the time that you're expecting with them. So we're glad to be back.
Yeah, I think everyone is glad to have some sense of normalcy, and I think competition gives that to us. But I think it's interesting, spring sport athletes are in a really unique position in that their season ended abruptly, where I think some of others kind of had some time to prepare. What have you learned about your team through all of the things that they've had to endure, going online for school and just trying to get ready for things when you don't know what's going to happen next?
Yeah, I think maybe the thing that all of us could say we've grown in the most is to be able to figure out how to thrive as best we can in the moment, even if the moment is unsure, unguaranteed, so, everybody survived virtual classes, and they're figuring it out and all of that. But I think there's been almost like a refining in each of us on what's really most important too. And so there's while we're all excited, seeing all the coaches on our coaches call yesterday, I know that people are excited to compete and to see who's going to win and what we can accomplish as our teams this year. But I think, at least for my team and my coaches, just the blessing of being able to be together and understanding how valuable and important those friendships and relationships are, and the value of being able to be face to face. And again, so grateful that tennis is what brings us together, and what we get to, the medium that allows us to do that. So I'm proud of my kids, man. They persevered. We were in Florida on our spring break trip. We played our last match on Friday and came home the next day. And I'd say about half or more of my players I didn't see in person until this fall. And it was, it was, like you said, really abrupt. And it took some time to get used to. And I know a couple of us talked about, even at our first practice last week, this feels weird. We didn't get closure from last year, and now we're back. It's like we were in this time warp, and just things just skipped. But now it's 10 months later, and we're kind of back restarting again. So, but I'm really proud of my players, just how they persevered and how they stuck together. It was really a cool thing to watch them take care of each other as teammates.
Yeah, I think that's something a lot of coaches would say about all of student athletes, no matter what season they're in right now, just that ability to persevere. I think it's a good life lesson. It's been hard for all of us to learn it, but I think it'll make us all better at the end. So I think that's really good. And you talked about the abrupt end of the season. I think that has to be challenging as a coach to not have any sense of closure on last season and still try and get ready for this year. So how have you been able to motivate your team, or how have they motivated each other, especially with this long break, to get ready to compete this year?
Yeah. Part of there are really two things that I think we lost in the second half of spring that we lost last year. Number one was all of our seniors and all of that, and not being able to kind of embrace that last part of their last season, and then even say goodbye. It was, I think we'll see you next week, but we might not, and then ended up not. So there was that, and then we had on my team in particular, but I know every team, like, we get to that point about the halfway point in our season, spring break, and a lot of our younger players who are getting some playing time, they're starting to figure it out, and then we lost the last chance to really lock that in. And so there's been this sense of unknown, like, we miss saying goodbye to our seniors, but what do we have? Because a lot of our sophomores this year, we didn't get to kind of lock everything in with them last year. So it's been really ambiguous, which is challenging as a coach, but I guess in some levels I've seen it be motivating for our players, because our lineup is kind of tentatively locked in, but every spot's open, really, because we just don't know, after last year. So there's been, you get some players that just enjoy playing, and they're in it and they're fun to have on the team and stuff like that, but our top players, and I think every team in our conference would say this, our top players have been really trying to get after it, in case we are able to have a season, that there's no regrets. And if we only get a handful of matches again, that it's awesome. But if we're able to have the full season, we're able to take advantage of it and again, look back on whatever we have with no regrets. So there's been a lot of motivation. I think the joy of just being back, but also, all right, I want to make sure I'm ready to compete at the very best of my ability and, get the best results that we can. So it's been fun. I've seen quite a spark, in my players, ready to go.
Yeah, I think it's great when adversity can turn into motivation and really push you. And I think that's probably true for a lot of teams. So it's exciting. And I think we're looking forward to finally knowing our athletes can be back on the court. But personally, what are you most looking forward to about this upcoming year?
Yeah, I love the amount of time and proximity with these young people that I just care deeply for, that coaching tennis provides. I'm very competitive, and obviously our schedules are still a work in progress, right? It's crazy how we're just trying, it's like pulling rabbits out of our hat, trying to figure everything out. But, I'm competitive and look forward to the opportunity to compete and to achieve whatever we can. But, I really am most looking forward to just the time, being able to leverage the game of tennis to grow young men and women and prepare them for the rest of their life out in the world. Is a real gift. And sometimes it's hard in a competitive environment for there to be the genuine love and care, like you want, no, please do it this way, like we've been telling you how many times, and for the players to perceive that, but genuinely just being able to love on and care for our kids, and to be able to take advantage of the opportunities and the gaps, the van rides, the even like the water breaks and practice and things like that, just to have those relationships in hopes that in the future at some point they look back and say, I'm really glad that I played tennis at Northwestern or whatever school, like that helped shape me into who I am today. Like that's the things that I'm excited for. And one way or the other, our record's going to be what it's going to be. We're going to achieve what we're going to achieve as a team, but the growth as people, the relationships that we build and the memories that we make, that's what'll last. And so that's what I try to focus on, and even in the heat of competition, to keep my eyes on, or keep that moving forward as well, regardless of the outcome.
Yeah, I think you summed that up well. I think a lot of coaches, they're in it for the experience of helping grow young people. And I think that's what we all have to kind of keep our minds on right now. Even though we want to be out competing, I think we have to keep focusing on that. And then that's why we're moving forward. And I'm excited that you and your team get to have that opportunity and, to kind of watch how things unfold this year. So really appreciate you joining us today and really look forward to the upcoming season. So thanks again for doing this. Really
Yeah,
grateful.
thank you. And thank you to you and Corey and everybody. Like, in talking with so many coaches and other teams around Minnesota, Wisconsin, Iowa, the UMAC is out in front of the game a little bit in all this. So I'm just grateful to you guys that we're able to be starting, because I know that's not the case for everybody. So thank you guys as well.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And we are glad that we are on the forefront. I know it's going to be a challenge, but we're looking forward to seeing how it plays out. So thanks so much, Matt.